cotton is, the most environmentally friendly material, the most natural, but actually the majority of the cotton that we wear it's the most water intensive material, and it uses a lot of pesticides, and actually, the farmers that's growing the crops are, in poor health.
Hey tribe, Stephanie Dixon for Green is the New Black, your guide to conscious living in Asia. Today we are shooting in sunny Singapore with the two co-founders, Eliza and Wuen of Touch the Toes. And so 6 years, wow, like looking back at Singapore 6 years ago, I can't even imagine what the scene was like if there was one at all, especially with sustainability. And I think you were sharing that actually Touch the Toes was the very first eco and yoga lifestyle store. So maybe you can share a little bit about what it was like back then starting a sustainable business or a sustainable focused business, and kind of how you've seen the growth and the transition in the last 6 years.
So fundamentally we wanted something local, if we could, from the region, because we wanted to support less of a carbon footprint. We wanted something to showcase talents. And we ended up having everything from the States. That was where the green movement started, and activists were beginning to really take root there. Fast forward 6 years later, there's now much wider variety, many more brands that we can actually bring in. So that's the biggest change that we've seen. The movement has caught on in society, so that's been wonderful. At the same time, yoga in Singapore as well as Asia has really taken off. They're much more aware of what's available out there. So we bring in brands not just about the fabric itself, but about the story. Because we want to tell the story of the brand, how they started, why it's good, what their ethos is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Eliza, you were telling me a little bit about the 3 things that you guys actually look for in the product, so maybe you can share that with everyone.
We carefully curate our products, and we make sure there's a harmony between functionality, good design, sustainability, and ethical practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And how have you found sort of the customers? Has there been a change from the beginning in the last 6 years, and have you found that it's much more mainstream now, or there's still a lot of education that's needed? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
I think because of social media, there's a lot of awareness about ethical fashion and the problem in the fashion industry, for example, through Fashion Revolution. And I do see, slowly more customers coming in because we are eco-friendly shop, and they want to learn about the brands. And we do have growing number of local labels, so yeah, it's kind of nice to see customer coming for those reasons.
We've noticed that the younger generation, the millennials, if you will, they're quicker to embrace things that are new. And so this whole idea that the earth is a finite resource, it just resonates with them. So they're much more inclined to, as Eliza was saying, save the money. It might be expensive for them, but they believe in it. Whereas with currently our customer profile, largely in their 30s to the 40s, 50s, they are the economy drivers. They buy because it's pretty, less so because of the ethics and the sustainability in there. But when we educate them as they come in and as they learn, they really subscribe to it. But how do we change that into a much more considered position? So when they buy something, how do we make sure that how do we help them keep that idea in the forefront of their mind, that we should be thinking more about sustainability, not just because it looks pretty and I will look good in it.
Yeah.
So that extra factor, how do we change a habit that they've been doing for the last 10, 20 years of their life, just buying anything, everything, without due consideration of materials that are used, resources that are used, and the ethics behind it.
Absolutely. So I want to pick more about that. I think the habit piece for people that have been buying for a lot longer, and as you said, they've kind of been brainwashed in a way into that consumerism lifestyle. How can we help to break those habits? What do you think for that?
So my thoughts are that we need to partner and create a community for these people. Because yourself on your own, it's harder to break a habit, it's harder to move into something new. But if you have the comfort that, oh, my friend is doing it, my colleagues are joining me for something, then you feel comforted, okay, it's not just me making a change. see that there is some level of impact, right? And us on our own, we can do a small amount, but partnering with you guys, with Miss New Black, partnering with other platforms, I think that's a good way to start.
Absolutely.
Continuing to educate the younger generation.
Yeah. Together we can be stronger.
Yes, definitely.
We can do it.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about any myths or misconceptions that you find, or common questions that people ask you about your store and the products.
I think one of the main misconceptions people have is that cotton is, the most environmentally friendly material, the most natural, but actually the majority of the cotton that we wear it's the most water intensive material, and it uses a lot of pesticides, and actually the farmers that's growing the crops are in poor health. So it's important, if we are to consume cotton, we consider organic cotton. It uses much less water and less pesticides, but there's also a lot more alternatives besides just organic cotton. There's tencel that's made out of eucalyptus tree, and what's amazing is that it uses much less water to grow the trees. And what we love about the tencel production is it recaptures 98% of the wastage during the production, and it reuses it back to production, so that's really great.
Absolutely.
So recycled polyester, sometimes it's also recycled plastic bottles. This technology has been around over 10 years now, so it's fairly common, but there's still a lot of people who are not so familiar with it. And the more cutting edge part of it is that now companies can also do recycled nylon. Now that's much more interesting, not to say that recycled poly isn't, but recycled nylon basically makes use of post-industrial, post-consumer waste. There are 640,000 tons of plastic fishing nets, fishing lines in our ocean. Recycled nylon takes a chunk of that and recycles it.
Into beautiful clothes.
Into beautiful clothes.
Yeah, that's really exciting and amazing. The technology nowadays, it's just insane. So what would Mother Nature say if she could speak right now?
I'm sure there will be quite a few things she would say, but I think the one key thing she would say is really stay away from one-time disposable plastics, because we use it for 60 seconds and then once you throw it away, it doesn't biodegrade for like 400 years, So one thing you can start with is ditch the plastic bottled water and kind of have your own water bottle. And we're lucky because we can actually drink water from our tap in Singapore. So
yeah. And straws aren't always necessary as well. So much of it goes 10 minutes in the drink and forever in the landfill. So I think Mother Nature will also say spend more time with me.
I think that's beautiful. Wouldn't we all like to spend more time with Mother Nature? So aside from using plastic bottles and saying no to straws, what are some little green steps that you would ask people to do to be more conscious in their life or with their consumption?
I would say definitely buy less and declutter your wardrobe if we're talking about clothing. And I went to a design school, so I love good design, and once in a while we want to buy a new item, right? Make sure it's a timeless design, you love it for a long time, and if you do make the purchase, do some research and kind of support the brands that has ethical and sustainable practice, and vote with your wallet.
Absolutely.
I'd say buy quality.
Yeah.
My silk pants have been with me for I think 15, 16 years now.
Amazing.
And it's still, I like to think it still looks quite good.
Yeah.
And sustainable. This is made of bamboo and I love it. It's just so comfortable. It makes me happy to put my clothes on.
Yeah.
It's just so nice.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining and for sharing all those wonderful wedges of wisdom. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, scoot on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And I hope you learned something today so that you can live more consciously tomorrow.